know what I'm doing. Y'all know where I am, and y'all know what I am doing. Last night we had Chinese food, and all of this rustling is me opening up a fortune cookie. I rarely eat these. Take a little time. Okay, but let me read this fortune. Okay. It says, you have a natural grace and great consideration of others. A natural grace and great consideration of others. Okay, so I'm going to toss the rest of this cookie. But I don't know why I like to read those little fortunes. Well, anyway, so I'm going to tell y'all a quick story and just give you a quick word of advice. So I was talking to a friend of mine, a man, and he has a daughter that he's incredibly close to. He raised her virtually as a single dad. Shout out to the single parents, the single dads. And so the daughter is now an adult, and she has a partner. She's with this guy, and she's about to make a move in that relationship that the father doesn't agree with. My friend doesn't agree with, and so he was talking to me about it and told me, what he had said to his daughter, and he was just, he was just unhappy about what she was about to do, and honestly, to me, it didn't sound like the right move to make, but it's not going to kill her. Worst case scenario, it's just going to teach her a very valuable lesson. And so he was pondering what he should say next. And the Lord has been dealing with me about my mouth, has been dealing with me about being quiet, even when you know you are right. And one day in my studies, I came across that passage of scripture, and I don't know it. You can Google it and look it up. But there was that passage of scripture that talks about how one plants, one waters, and God gives the growth. And so, anytime I am, what that did though for me is kind of opened up my eyes and kind of kept me from always advising people, and made me listen more to see if people were engaging me for advice, or if they just needed a sounding board, if they needed to vent. Everybody doesn't want advice. And so, it's made me much more attentive in my communication. So I told him this. I said, well, friend, he said, well, you think I shouldn't have said anything, right? And I said, no, absolutely not. That's not what I think at all. I think that you're her father. And as her parent, you're supposed to correct her. And now that she's an adult, you're supposed to counsel her. You can't go along with everything anyone does. So it had to be said because you're her father. And I said, and hopefully it'll work out. But if it doesn't, it won't be a situation where she can come back to you and say, Dad, you should have told me. But I did tell him this. I said, well, because he was concerned that she had not talked to him sooner about the situation and just kind of dropped it in his lap. And the whole situation, the next step in the situation is now imminent. And he was like, she knew this, long time ago. And I said, well, friend, I'm going to tell you. One thing I've learned is that no matter what one's belief is, whether they pray, whether they go to church or whether they worship, no matter what one's belief is, God speaks to all of his children. He speaks to all of us. And I believe the reason that she didn't tell you was that she knew what your response was going to be. But also she felt in herself that it wasn't correct. Because who hides something that they absolutely believe in, that they think is a right and a good move? why would she hide that from her father? Except she herself doesn't think it's a good idea, but she's going to do it. She's going to try it just to see. Give me a second. I need to do what I came to do. Isn't this cute? So, you know, and so I told him, I said, well, the other thing, you know, I've been studying for myself is to say what I'm going to say and be done with it. And I gave him an example of a time this past summer with me and Joshua, me and my own son, and how I was trying to advise Joshua on a situation. And I had said something to him about that situation once. I had said something about to him about that situation a second time. And when it came up again, you know, for discussion, I felt the Lord tell me, don't say anything else to him. Leave it alone. You know, don't keep beating the point. And I left it alone. And, you know, some days went by, a week, 2 weeks went by, and he came to me. And the situation had resolved in the way that I had hoped. So what I was telling my friend is this, is that when you're dealing with your children, you know, when you're a parent, as a parent, it's something about that parental advice, that, you know, that parental forbidding that makes everything more appealing. And so I did tell him this. I said, you know, continuing to beat that point with her is going to make you the bad guy. It's going to end up being them against you. It's going to be, you know, Dad doesn't understand. Dad is picking on my boo. My boo is a nice guy, and Dad just doesn't like him. It's going to be a point of contention between you and her. It's going to be a problem between you and her, and it's going to drive a wedge between you and your daughter, and it's not worth that. Being right is not worth that. And what's the worst that can happen to her? I was like, we're not talking about a situation that's going to get her killed or locked up. And she, you know, you've done well raising her. She's done well for herself. I was like, the best we can do for these children is give them the knowledge, give them the wisdom, give them the tools. And when we see that they're headed in the wrong direction, say so. Say so. But if they're insisting on going that direction and they're adults and it's not going to kill, or even children, and if it's not going to kill them or hurt them or get them put out of school, if the adverse effect is not going to be life-changing, it's just going to teach them a lesson, it is what it is. And continuing to insisting that they do what you say is going to cause a problem. If you love your kids and you want to keep an open line of communication, sometimes you just have to let them do what they're going to do and, you know, make yourself available to help them deal with the aftermath. And this isn't going to be a huge aftermath. It'll be okay. She'll recover. It's a mistake, but she'll recover. And so, you know, I've been a mama almost 15 years this year. I think that, you know, that qualifies me to give a little bit of parenting advice. And so there you have it. But that because I'm also, you know, an advisor, you know, with adults, people come to me frequently for advice. I've learned this even in my dealings with my friends, to not always give the same advice over and over again. We're talking about the same situation or a similar situation. Ma'am, you already know what I'm going to say. I already know that you're not going to do it. You know, I don't want to speak to you in frustration. I don't want to say something that, you know, speak out of turn and get in your grown lady business or your grown man business and then have you mad at me over some nonsense that's not even going to affect me. I'm going to be your friend regardless. I'll be there, you know, when the situation blows up. I'll be there to help pick up the pieces. So it has taught me that, you know, I used to be that type of person where I would get frustrated or angry. You know, if I'm telling you something I know is correct and you're not doing it, But that word, one does the planting, one does the watering, and God gives the growth. When I realized my frustration was because I was trying to give the growth, I was trying to do the planting, the watering, and the growing, and growth doesn't come from Andrea. I'm only 1/3 of that equation. 1/3 of that equation, but I was trying to be all three components. When that was revealed to me that the source of my frustration was me and my expectation, it made me quick with my advice, and it made me careful with my advice. And I don't give the same advice over and over again. And I will sit and watch you go on into your situation, being clear in my conscience that I advised you correctly. And just preparing myself to be available to talk to you and counsel you and hold your hand when it's over. And I don't do that I told you so stuff either, because people already know. So that's that, y'all. I got to go and finish having this morning. I got to finish communing, and I got to decide if I'm going to church today in person or online. But look at this. I love this coffee mug because I love these birds. And sometimes I sit out here in my backyard, and when I'm talking to the Lord, I'll see one of the birds. It's always as I'm talking and praying. Like right now, because I'm not talking to God, I guess, I don't see any of these birds. But once I started speaking to the Lord and talking to the Lord, I see one of these red birds. At one time, it was like 4 of them in my backyard. I was out here talking to them. And I don't think that they're gods, of course. They're part of the creation like the rest of us. But I think they're my friends. And so I always say, well, hi, friends. Y'all came to help me pray this thing on in. So I am going to talk to the Lord and admire his creation and his wonderments. And there you have it. Make that point one time. Keep it short, soft, and succinct. And then move on to the next thing, honey. Y'all have a happy Sunday. Go to church if you want to. Wear your mask. Barrier methods work, okay? Think condoms. Highly effective. Not 100%, but what is? All right. Y'all have a good one. Bye.